Hi, welcome back to the ANS Way. Today, I was going to say it's just me today, Ant is not on this video. Today I'm going to update you on our green card application, where we're at in the process, so a bit of an update. But I'm also going to talk through a bit of a recap on what that process is, because I even realised, speaking to Ant, that the green card application process is even complicated to him, and I realised there were things that I hadn't really understood either. So I'm going to recap over what that process is, and also specifically talk about advanced parole, which is your travel authorization, and whether you actually need it when you have an L1A visa. Before I get into it, first of all, I am going to say, if you haven't already, do not forget to subscribe. It greatly helps out our channel, and hit that like button, because I guarantee you are going to find this video useful. Now, something that I have to say, we are not immigration experts. So when we are talking about the process of applying for the green card, we are simply talking about our experience and what we understand. For all I know, there are some things that we are not fully understanding. If you need advice, we do really recommend that you go and have a look online and seek advice from a proper attorney when it comes to immigration. I think this is our third or fourth video on our green card journey. So if you haven't already, go watch those other videos. In those videos, we do explain the type of green card that we are applying for, which is an EB1C. We talk a bit about the different types of employment-based green cards that you can get, why we are applying for that one, and we also talk about all the preparation that it's taken to apply. So everything that the attorney explained, why we spent months preparing for our green card application. So go watch those videos if you haven't already. So our green card application process started in July of last year, I believe. So as soon as we landed in the USA, I pretty much encouraged my company to sponsor my green card application, and within a few months they were happy to do that for us. And it took a good few months to prepare all of that, and in December of last year, so December 2021, we submitted our green card application. And this is the bit that confused Ant, because I think Ant thought, oh, that was it, we've done, everything's in. No. So there's actually two parts to applying for a green card, and this is what I'm going to explain today. Two parts, so two processes. There is the application which we had put in December. So that is the application that you put into Petition to say whether you qualify for the employment-based green card. So that is the I-140 form that we submitted in December. So essentially that is your company filing on your behalf to say that this person qualifies for the EB1C, employment-based green card. That's one part of the process. The second part of that process is then adjusting your status, so becoming a lawful permanent resident. So number one is, do you qualify? And that's what they assess first. And then next is, okay, yes, you do qualify. Now we need to make you a lawful permanent resident. And that is the adjustment of status. So that is the I-485 form. Now a lot of people do this concurrently, and you can do it at the same time. Reasons for not doing it concurrently could be because your employer is not 100% sure that you qualify, and that's where you have to have that discussion with your attorney. In our case, they did believe that we had a solid case, but because it was taking a long time to get all the paperwork together, we decided to file for the green card in December, and then after that we prepared for the adjustment of status. Where we're at with that, I think in the last video we explained we prepared all the work for that. So that was all kind of the demographic details, our history. This is where we went for the medical. So in the last video we spoke about me being jabbed up a good few times as part of the medical. That was submitted not too long ago, and that's what they call the adjustment of status. So the two parts, the qualifying and then adjusting your status. Now, this is where I'm going to talk about what typically goes along with your adjustment of status. So when you go through that process, your attorneys will typically file for your work authorization and a travel authorization. And all that means is when you have these authorizations alongside your adjustment, It just means that if your current visa, your non-immigrant visa that you have in the US expires, that you have that work and travel authorization covering you during that period. In our case, we have filed for the I-140 form, is that right? I-140 form, which is the green card application, back in December. And we've also filed for the adjustment of status and the work authorization. What we haven't applied for is the advanced parole, so that is the travel authorization. And I just wanted to spend a bit of time explaining that, because that is something that we had to go back and forth with our attorney on understanding why we need it, whether we need it, and I hope this will help those of you that are also in the US in a similar situation to us. So as I mentioned, with the adjustment of status, typically your attorney will file for that plus the work authorization and travel authorization. If you don't have an L1A or a H1 visa, when you're adjusting your status, you are still in a pending state of getting your green card. And if you leave the country, it is seen as abandoning your green card application if you have no travel authorization. And this is why you typically need advanced parole. Advanced parole is your travel authorization. That means that your green card application can continue and you're allowed to travel internationally. Now for me, that's important because I have a role for my company where I am expected to travel, and also me and I like to go on holiday. And normally what you would do is file for this advanced parole alongside that adjustment of status. But in that period, whilst you're waiting for advanced parole, there is about 6 to 9 months where you're waiting for that to come back, where you can't travel. And this is where I spoke to my attorney, because we do need to travel. I have work-related reasons to travel, and we also have personal travel. And I started reading online about the fact that when you're on an L1 or a H1, that you don't need advanced parole. So these are the two types of visas, and I also believe if you have a K1, and there's some others where you don't actually need advanced parole. And so in our case, when I spoke about this with the attorney, they did agree that we could file for the adjustment of status with the work authorization without advanced parole, because we have the valid L1 visa to cover us for international travel, which means our green card can continue to apply. So if you're in a similar situation as us and your L1 has still got a good year or two valid, there is actually no need for you to get the advanced parole. It's just a nice to have. They prefer you to have it. I'm not entirely sure why, because you can travel anyway, but you definitely do not need it if you have a H1 or an L1 visa. The other thing that we are managing is the fact that we have about a year left on our current L1 visa before it expires. And I did mention about the fact that the reason that you need your work authorization is that you're kind of balancing that out with your current visa status in the US. And typically with visa extensions on the L1, they recommend that you go back to the embassy. So for us, they want us to go back to the London embassy to apply there rather than doing it from the US. From what I know, and it'll be interesting if you guys watching the channel have any other experience or know from others, we have heard that when you file for the extension from the US, there is more chance of them rejecting the extension, whereas those who go back to their local embassy and do it that way, they get a really quick approval. We have no understanding of why that is at all, but that's what the recommendation has been for our attorney. And that was partly the other reason why getting advanced parole wouldn't have worked for us, because we would have had to have waited at least 6 months for that to come through. Now what we're doing is in the summer we're going to go back to the UK, apply for the L1 extension. That will give us another 2 years, which should definitely cover us for the period whilst we're waiting for our green card application. In terms of next steps for us, we just found out this week that our petition, so this is us qualifying for the green card, was approved last week, and that is super fast. So when we put our application in December, I think the time, so you can go online and they will give you the approximate time of how long it should take for approval or not. and ours was coming out to, I think they were saying about 10 to 12 months at that time. Ours has taken 5 months, so that was really, really quick, and that really did surprise me and the attorney. They apparently have been saying that they're trying to process things a lot quicker now. Whether that's true, that's certainly not true for Ant's EAD, but certainly for our green card application, that was really quick, which is great for us, because that's part of the concern, that when you're going through the adjustment of status, whether your green card will even be approved, whether the petition will be approved. So at least on the grounds of whether I qualify for a green card, that's been approved. Now it's a case of waiting, and they believe it's going to be about 10 months for the adjustment of status to go through. In the next couple of months, we should be called in to do biometrics. We might have to go in for an interview. That part of the process I'm not super clear on, but as I learn it, I will share. And then my attorney believes that in about a year, everything should be completed. So he believes at the moment that by March of 2023, we should have our green cards. Fingers crossed. Well, I hope you found that video useful. Let us know if that's made the green card process any clearer for you, because it certainly has been confusing for us. And definitely the bit about advanced parole and whether you need this travel authorization was something that really was not clear to us at all until we discussed it with our attorney. I'm going to say this again, always get advice from your own attorney over me and Anne, because we are only simply passing on the information as we understand it. As always, do not forget, if you haven't, I said this at the beginning, to subscribe, hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and please comment below with any questions that you have, whether you enjoyed the video and what else you'd like to know. Thanks for watching.